Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Head. Welcome back to the Baseball Head. I hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So the Mets are 40-41. We're at the midway point of the season. It's July 1st. Bobby Bonilla Day. Now, I would mention about Bobby Bonilla, a lot of teams have done this, but for some reason, the Mets always get hammered for this, and it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, it's a happy day for Bobby Bonilla. He's not playing, but he still gets paid. So the Mets are 40-41. We have 2 weeks left before the All-Star break. The Mets have a very interesting schedule over this time period. They can be playing the Nationals this week in a 4-game series. They're going up against a prospect on today or tomorrow. James Wood today. And they'll play on the 4th of July. They can play at 11 o'clock. Then on the weekend, they play the Pirates. On Friday, they go up against Paul Skeens for the first time. Then they come back next week, and they play the Marlins, and then they play the Rockies. So the Mets can win the majority of those games, and hopefully get to above 500 to finish the first half. And then, of course, we'll have the draft, and then we'll have the home run derby and the All-Star break, and then we go to the end of the month to hit the trading deadline on July 30th. Now, the Mets have an interesting 2 weeks to play well. They'll continue to play well. They had the best month in June. They went 16-8, which was the best in the National League. It wasn't the best in baseball. The Astros winning yesterday gave them the best month in the American League, the best month in Major League Baseball. But as you know, from what we have seen so far, the Mets pitching has been an issue. A lot of walks. But in particular, the bullpen has not been good. Obviously, we're in the middle of this suspension to Edwin Diaz. We've gone to the first 5 games. Now we got to get to this week, and he'll be back on Saturday. He can't participate in any workouts. He can't get involved with the club. He can't even be with the club. But he was sort of up and down, as you know. Did not pitch well, and then he pitched well right before he was, got caught with the sticky stuff. This whole thing of the sticky stuff is very inconsistent. The Yankees are allowed to go wash their hands. Mets are not allowed to do that. Why? I don't know. And there's a bias against the club, but he's been up and down. He's coming back. Hopefully they'll get him back to where he was right before he was sent off on suspension. We don't have Brooks Raley. He had to get Tommy John surgery. We're not going to have Drew Smith much longer because he's probably going to have to get Tommy John surgery. That's what's going to happen. Reed Foley, he's out on the injured list with, I guess, a shoulder impingement. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. Adam Ottavino has not pitched well. But the Mets have had some interesting performances. Jake Diekman is a disaster. He walks way too many batters. The Mets have got to find a lefty very soon, very quickly. Reed Garrett has pitched well, although his career record has not been good. He makes me very, very nervous. He's been closing games, but it's sort of like hit or miss lately. He had a very good month of April, but in May, the Met bullpen was terrible in May, and he was not good in May. But, I mean, the Met club overall has been pretty good in June, but Reed Foley scares me, just due to the fact of his history. Prior to coming into this year, he had an ERA over 7. The Daniel Nunez, he's been excellent. Mets have gotten linked out of him. He's been really, really good. But the Mets continue to need some help. And they've been bringing these different guys up. They brought Tyler J up here. They brought up Daniel Young, who pitched lousy the other night. And they brought in this Matt Festa, who was a complete, total mess on Sunday against the Astros. He gave up 5 runs in that 11th inning. Can't win that way, obviously. So the Mets are kind of struggling. They're struggling to sort of get the last outs of this game, at any game. But I would mention the starting pitching has not given them the length they need, particularly from Tyler McGill, David Peterson, Jose Quintana, and all the rest. With starting pitching, the Mets will get Cody Senga back. Christian Scott's going to be coming back from the minor leagues. He's going to pitch on Tuesday. So there's going to be improvements. And I expect one of these lefties probably will be dealt but prior to the trade deadline. Either be Shomanai or Jose Quintana will be out of here. The biggest thing, and just the overall thing, got to cut the walks down. Got to cut the bases on balls down. You can't win. You can't give up extra outs for these teams. Now, I compiled the list. I went through this list of pitchers. A list of relievers. Some of these guys are closers. Some of these guys are setup man. And there's one lefty in this group of players, from what I could tell. Some of them are on expired contracts. Some of them are obviously all on bad teams. Teams that have a chance to basically their teams are probably going to be buyers. One in particular will be probably be a buyer, surprisingly enough. But let's go through the list. So we have Tanner Scott, the closer for the Miami Marlins. Also go and just start talking the probability. The Mets farm system is not quite there yet in terms of trading big pieces. So the pieces that the Mets would have to move would be mid-level guys or less than that for these different relievers. There are some big names here that would really bring in a lot of sort of prospect return for the other team. But I don't think the Mets will do that. The Mets are not at a point in their development as a group that they are right there to win the World Series. They're not there yet. This is about getting to postseason. This is about getting that last playoff spot. First name comes to mind, Tanner Scott, the Marlins. Mets would have to give up a lot for him. And it's less about, quite frankly, about the fact that they're in the same division. It's more about, can the Mets meet their demand? And obviously, they've already broken up that team. They've had major injuries to the pitching staff. The second baseman, Arias, got traded to the Padres early in the season. You're going to have to give up a lot for Tanner Scott. Hunter Harvey, sort of the on again, off again closer of the Washington Nationals. We'll get a chance to see him this week. That's a maybe. We'll see if the Mets would be willing and the Nationals would be willing to make a deal within division. We'll put that by the maybe spot. Our good buddy, David Robertson, believe it or not, he only has a one-year deal with the Rangers. But the Rangers are sort of like teetering. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles this past weekend, although they went on Sunday against them on Sunday Night Baseball. They're sort of teetering as to what they want to do. What a letdown from last year, obviously, from winning the World Series. But keep an eye on them. Carlos Estevez, he's the closer for the Angels. He's definitely going to get moved. The Angels are terrible, terrible. And they never make any good deals. So any team making a deal with them, don't expect that the Angels will be getting much in return for a closer who's on an expiring contract, on a bad team, and a bad organization. That'll be the team that'll get somebody pretty good, and that's got to keep an eye on for the Mets. Yimi Garcia with the Blue Jays. We'll see what happens there. The Blue Jays are sort of, they don't know what the hell they seem to know what they're doing. I mean, they want to sort of contend, but they're dead last in the American League East. And then kind of a disappointment as a group. They got close a couple of years ago with this sort of central core of Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and George Springer, and it just hasn't worked. They didn't make any moves in the offseason. There was this rumor they were trying to get Shohei Ohtani. That didn't happen. Remember people watching the plane, following the plane online, seeing if Ohtani was going to Toronto. That didn't happen. But we'll see if he's going to get moved. If they decide to be sellers, he'll be gone. Brent Sutter, who the Mets tried to get last offseason to be the lefty. Keep an eye on him. We'll see what the Reds are. The Reds are, I don't know what the hell's going on with the Reds. They have so much talent, but they just can't. I don't know if it's the manager is the problem. I don't know what the problem is. Now, the big name on this list, which I don't see the Mets doing this, I don't even think he's going to get moved, is Mason Miller. The guy that does 1,000,000 miles an hour with the soon-to-be Las Vegas A's. I don't know who he's going to get dealt to. He will go to a team that's right on the cusp of winning a World Series. That's definitely a place that he can go. I can see him going to the Dodgers. See him going to the Baltimore. I don't see him going to the Yankees. I don't think the Yankees would give up a lot for him. I don't think the Yankees would give up any kind of players of note for Miller. I wouldn't mention about the Yankees. The Yankees never give up any good prospects. Very rarely. From Tampa, Pete Fairbanks. I heard he's got a bit of a flair, a bit of a hot dog. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Tampa. They always seem to squeak into it with Kyle Finnegan, another guy from Washington. He's the closer, on again, off again, closer of the Washington Nationals. We'll see where he goes. He might get moved this time. Let's keep an eye on him. I saw this name on here. I am not a big fan of this pitcher. I didn't like it when he was here. I didn't like his antics that he had 2 years ago when he pitched here at Citi Field. That's Paul Sewald. He did not pitch well in the World Series. He kind of blew that World Series for the Diamondbacks last year. And he scares me. Sorry enough for him, and I don't really care for him. David Bednar, the Pirates, I don't think he's getting moved. He's been talked about getting moved for a long time, but I don't see him getting moved. Because that team is on the cusp of being a real good playoff team. I don't see them trading players away. I see them standing pat, especially with that pitching staff. Camilo Doval of the San Francisco Giants. Maybe. He's a maybe. I don't think the Mets have to give up too much for him. Michael Kopech of the White Sox is a name that's been bouncing around with every team. That's a suitable guy. But he's on a bad team. You know, a really bad team. Now, players that are on really bad teams always scare me, to be honest with you. And finally, the final name I have on this list, and this will be an updated list, I also have a whole entire list of players that are going to get traded. At some point, I'll do an updated video on that, on the baseball at 2. And that is Kenley Jansen of the Red Sox. Be interested to see if the Red Sox become buyers and sellers. Now, the thing about Jansen is the Mets have this competitive tax on them. Competitive luxury tax on them. So if they would bring him in, he's got a big contract. If he's making $16 million, they'd have to take that. They'd have to get hit with a deferral again. So I don't know if they want to do that. But depending on where the Red Sox look at themselves, that's a guy that could get moved. And that guy could put him in the 8th inning, and he can close the game out. And especially if Diaz is still up and down the last 2.5 months, or last 3 months, he could be a key guy. So keep an eye on certain guys here. I'll give you names to keep an eye on. David Robertson. If the Rangers become sellers, and Robinson wouldn't have a problem coming back. He liked it here. Hopefully he'll pitch a lot better in the second half than he did the second half of the Miami Marlins. Kyle Finnegan, Kenley Jansen, and I see Carlos Estevez. So those are the guys to keep an eye on. Those 4 guys could be moved. And keep an eye on Brent Sutter. The Mets need a lefty. They need to get rid of Jake Diekman. He scares the hell out of him. He works too many batters. And he's just not effective enough. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And we'll talk more about this as we get close to the trade deadline over the next few weeks. And you want to follow this channel. You're a big fan of the Mets. And you're not on X. And you're not on Twitter. I mean, on Twitter, X. And you're not on Facebook or any other platform. Hit that subscribe button before you go. And I'll see you later.